What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining in again. Another episode from the Desert Devils United podcast. That's Bryce. This is Nate.
Hello.
Welcome back. Like I said, U.S. tour is officially over, so we're going to cover Bournemouth at midweek. Bryce is going to take us through today's match. We'll give you some thoughts, what we thought about the U.S. tour in general, and then a little bit of transfer news. As everyone knows, it's gone slightly quiet while Benjamin Sesko sits in Germany, apparently holding the world hostage while he chooses between the Uniteds. And
This world, we're living in it.
seriously, I mean, even Fabrizio is quiet. So, yeah,
Can I start us off with one quick thing that's just a little bit aggressive because it's me?
you may as well.
Amarim. One trophy. Arteta at Arsenal. 0 trophies.
Even fake trophies.
You suck.
This is their season. I'm
had to
just
get it
going
out
to
of the way
throw. I got to throw one thing on there. I did see a message from somebody on Threads today, and basically all he said was Arsene Wenger finished second in the Premier League 3 seasons in a row. That would have been to United, 98, 99, 2000, or 98, 99, 2000, etc. But those we won
Yeah.
back to back to back. Then Arsenal won that next season, and so
Yep.
they're convinced that they've now finished second 3 seasons in a row. So this is their year. It's not worth the discussion, but again, like I
That's
get,
cute.
yeah, it really is, and I honestly get the idea of trying to find clues and patterns to why your club is struggling or doing great or whatever. Like, I get that. Like, we do it, but this is Arsenal, so we'll get
I
into.
mean,
We have a
if we
prediction one later.
want to go, if we want to go into like something happened every single year that a Grand Theft Auto gets released, United wins the Premier League. If you look at GTA 1 through 5, every time that the year they've been released, United have won the Premier League.
Oh shit!
And GTA 6 is getting released next year. So,
Tricky. Well, I guess we have our own version of statistics. But yeah, 1 trophy to 0. Let's fucking go. All right, so
before it.
midweek Bournemouth match was a good match. United came out firing.
Oh, yeah.
Bournemouth played actually decent that match, but they lack a lot of quality that they had last year, and now their entire back line and keeper has been picked off by other clubs. All 4 defenders across the back line plus the keeper has been sold off. So I don't think they'll be quite the team they were last year. They were fun to watch. They had some great matches, some great results last year. But this match on Friday against a United team that is still finding their feet in terms of play, style of play, getting to know each other. Cunha and Bueno are, they're already part of the full squad, so we're adding in 2 huge pieces. We've talked about their Premier League contributions last season to each of their teams respectively, and now we're trying to fold that in to obviously what we already have. So I thought the match itself was really good. 4-1 was the final, and one of the bigger things on that final too is that it should have been 4-0, but with almost the last kick of the game, unfortunate own goal for that, which obviously we had another one today against Everton. But like, I'm really finding the energy that United is bringing back to the levels it should be, as a baseline, like celebrating the fact that your team brings the energy and runs is like the baseline. Like, that's the minimum expectation that we've wanted for a long time, and it feels like we would get 45 minutes of it, 30 minutes of it. Maybe a couple Europa League matches down the stretch last season where I thought we played all 90 minutes, like start to finish, like back and forth,
Yeah.
obviously, some of those matches, but for 2 or 3 seasons now. And that's why a lot of these players that we've known for a while are not going to be around anymore. That
Yeah.
I'll bring you some energy for a minute, but for the next minute, I'm going to relax or whatever. So that,
Yeah.
that match was really good. The Bournemouth match was a solid performance. I thought the scoreline proved exactly what should happen. It was completely fair scoreline on that. Hoyland opened the scoring, bringing the like so much excitement. Ball was pinged around. Hoyland finishes it like great cross, great header. My cousin actually texted me, like Hoyland finally made the right run, and I said, I apologize, I'm gonna have to cut you off there. The cross was where it should be. Hoyland's been making runs for 2 seasons now that have been completely ignored, or he's just 2 steps behind or 2 steps forward. Finally, like the connection, the header, fantastic.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Also, I mean, I talked about how strong Dorgu was in the very first of the preseason summer series, and then so for him to have a goal and an assist in the first
Oh,
half
so good.
of that one, I was, definitely one of those, you know, try not to throw my own shoulder out, patting myself on the back. I was pretty pumped about that one actually. The weather also kind of reminded us a little bit more of what maybe they would expect in Manchester with all the wind and the rain. Chicago making the Red Devils feel at home, I think, with it pouring down the way that it was. But for me, the biggest takeaway was just you could see the patterns of play, right? When they were building it up out of the back, there it was, we talked about when the left-sided center back gets it, okay, option one, option two, option three, boom, boom, switch across, boom. Like it was almost like, and this sounds so stupid, but it's the truth. Like if you were playing FIFA with the squad and you knew where you were going to want to pass it next because you were just one of those guys that's played it for,
Exactly.
48 hours straight when it comes out, right? Where you could, in watching the match, you saw the space open up before the ball was made for the next pass. So you knew, oh, as it's coming into Ahmad's feet at right wing back, you go, oh, he's going to play the right sided 10. And then he does. And as the ball's starting to move to the right sided 10, you see, oh, he's going to get it to the opposite central midfield player for a switch. Boom. Oh, now he's going to hit it long to the wing back. Boom. And you could see everything that was kind of happening a little bit beforehand. And they were all over it, which was really, really fun to see. Again, the link up play with different players playing in different positions to see kind of what works or what doesn't. I love that Amarim's playing around with that. We saw that again in today's preseason match as well, with Mbuemo's debut starting up top as the number 9, but then the flexibility that came with it. And again, it's unique because again, Wednesday's match, it was the static, structured here, then here, then here, then here, then here, then here, then here. Very engineered, right? Possessions or spells with the ball felt like, again, like a video game. It was joysticked. You knew exactly where it was going next. You saw the pattern play from the training ground. Okay, you could almost see a practice where
Yeah.
Amarim's telling them,
It was all
you pass it here,
purposeful.
then you pass it here, right? But it was nice and it was good to see because the spaces were there. In contrast to that, today's match, at least the first 45, was chaos, but like in a good way, where Mbuemo leading the line, he dropped into certain spaces, and then Cunha would take it from him higher up the pitch, and it was more free flowing with Ahmad at right wing back. He would jump into the attack, right? Bruno was technically the other 10, right? But then Mainu wasn't exactly stapling himself to 10, 15 yards in front of the center backs. He had a little bit more freedom with Ugarte hanging out, right, to cover.
Yeah.
So you had a ton of movement there, and it was way more free flowing the first 45 today, where whenever United won the ball in the middle third, you felt like, oh crap, they could score. Right? Like we were talking before the show. I'm sitting back like this on the couch. Okay, we're defending well, and then the minute we won it, the first pass away, I'm going, because it's like, okay, they can score, right? And it was that level of just speed into the counter, not necessarily sprint speed, but the pace of play of the game. It was immediately the transition went from we've won the ball to look out, we're coming, and it was immediate, which was really cool to see.
Let me ask you this
A
on
lot of
that
this,
point. Let me ask you this: from the structure like you're talking about in Bournemouth, which everything felt purposeful, everybody knew where they should be. The buildup was very purposeful in that game and worked out fine. From that to what you're kind of calling the chaoticness of what we did today, do you think today's version of the team allowed Everton more space because it wasn't as boxy and purposeful? It was a lot more, you know what I mean, just a lot more free to kind of
yeah,
run at them.
yeah. I mean, a lot of those moments were when we decided to either press or try to box the ball into areas in the middle third. I mean, Everton definitely came into the match a lot better during the 28th to 30th minute onward. They felt like they got their footing a little bit more in the match, but it didn't feel like they were taking too much of the game to United ever. It was more like not they're letting Everton have the ball, but they were okay with Everton having the ball for spells at a time. And the counter attack when winning it looked dangerous, and they were intending to win it in certain areas, right? Like the first Everton goal, Ugarte wins the ball got crossed in the box, comes to Ugarte's feet. He's trying to dribble out. He just gets it taken off of him, right? I don't know if he didn't see somebody ahead of him to release the ball to, and
Right.
that's why he held on to it too long. But then he gets tackled, one cross to the back post because of some of that rotation. It's a good thing when you have that free flowing mentality when you have the ball, but in the defense, it ended up meaning that Bruno Fernandez was holding the right wing back position, and the run comes in from behind off his shoulder. Um, Maybe he was offside. There was no VAR. You couldn't really tell. He definitely had his hand up, but when does Bruno not have his hand up to a referee asking for
Exactly.
something in his favor? It's very rare. But point being, the goal that we get conceded there is one where you would hope it's hey Manu, you don't see anybody ahead of you, just away please, thank you,
Yep.
right? Don't.
Get it out.
So
No.
yeah, it's one that it's preseason, so you're like okay, right? If that is the difference between 3 points and 1 point during the regular season, it's a different reaction. But again, you can live with it. So that was, there were bits and pieces of that there, but at the end of the day, that was United. United were the better team against Everton. The second half was kind of got chippy. There were good pieces and bad pieces, but you feel overall United were a little bit the better side for more pieces of the match. Um, we saw that a lot last year, where we felt like maybe we were the better side for certain parts of the match, and then
100%.
ended up
Yeah.
drawing or losing by a goal. So we hope that trend isn't a continuation from last season with the 2-2 draw. But at the same time, we saw United be the better team and create more chances between today and Wednesday in two very different ways. And I think part of it too is obviously the personnel. The starting lineup today having Bruno a little bit more advanced, right? And then Ugarte and Manu together. Maybe that says, hey, we're okay sitting and defending a little more because, again, like a Dallo at left wing back. Ahmad was still on the right, but Bruno will get back and defend if he's playing one of the tens. So seeing him there, maybe a little bit more. Hey, we can defend and then we can spring forward. I would maybe venture to say today's starting 11 is a lot closer to what we'll probably see in 2 weeks
I was
for the
thinking that.
season
Yeah.
against Arsenal. With the exception of Dorgu at left wing back instead of Delo. I think Delo just needed to get some minutes today. And again, they said it earlier, but Dorgu had played most of the first two matches. So, and he even came on today and played well in the second half. So, um,
I remember when I
I,
had that energy, I could play 3 or 4 matches in a week.
buddy, yeah, not anymore.
No,
They're on a golf Miami.
too, thinking about the US tour overall. So it's just some quick stats for you obviously. 8 goals
Yeah,
scored, 4 goals conceded, 2 of those were own goals. So I thought that was really superb from the team itself. Um, there's, yeah, we lifted a trophy today for the series, which is really cool. I think it's important. Like Ferguson said, and Amarim said every time as well, we're out to win every single match we play. We can't win 60 matches in one day, but every time we approach a new match, we're here to win this match. And I thought that was a big key. Obviously, today ended 2-2, with the draw being the final result. But looking at the tour itself, I thought it was a huge, 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 huge victory for the club itself, for the club as a whole. One thing I noticed a lot of, there wasn't a lot of videos being made about the training. I used to enjoy watching those, watching them do stuff. They were just clips, and I noticed that a lot. And it feels like hopefully the club is starting to say, "Hey, like we're not going to give you as much access. Like we're a football club first. We're not, it's not just about advertising and marketing and using our name to make money, but as we've seen, if you don't continue to win, then those opportunities, you slip away and you have other things do it. So I thought the U.S. tour overall was a huge win outside of winning the summer series itself. There were three other Premier League teams in there, and we ended up winning it. So like, that's it's a big deal, even though it's not a big deal at all
Yeah.
for that. But for United fans and the club, from where we were and where we want to be, I thought the U.S. tour this year was successful. Um,
Sure.
it's hard to travel in the summers. It's hard to go to other countries and try to prep, then head back to your locale, play a match or two, and then start the season. That's a lot. Like globetrotting is a lot to try
Yeah.
and bring that top energy. But I thought, I'm hoping, and it appeared so by what I saw in each of the matches, I think Amarim had the opportunity to train specific things. And I read something after the match today before we got on here, and it was talking about Amarim was saying that there was a problem with the back line because when Ugarte gets the ball, he wants the back line out of the box, at least to the top of the box. He doesn't want him sitting back down in the box because obviously Ugarte, if he gives the ball away and our defenders are back in the box, one, maybe two
Too much
passes,
space.
and they're already up on goal. So he was talking about the work that needed to be put in with the back line, that when that ball reaches him, that everyone on that back line is at the top of the box or higher. So I thought that was really interesting. Like we're seeing specific things, and I think it's going to benefit everyone. So for me, I thought the U.S. tour
Yeah.
was a big win for everyone at the club. It's given a chance for players that aren't playing a lot to get a few minutes. We saw some of the kids. One of the bigger things, I think, some of the players who are on the fringes that you heard Amarin talk today. There are players that don't want to be at this club, and it's that simple. So I think this tour hopefully has given some space. Players that weren't brought on can find their move. They can train. They can do whatever they want to. The players that are going to be a part of his squad, he's had them here, closed up. Obviously, the front office is working on a few things. We talked about it already. Fundraising for the new stadium. They were in New York, Chicago, Atlanta. We talked about big cities in the U.S., big financial hubs, being able to meet people, and I think that's
Absolutely.
a big deal. If you're talking about 2 billion or more to try and create what they want to create at in the new site, who knows what they're going to do with Old Trafford yet? If it's going to stay or if it's going to be part of it, like the opportunity I think this summer was well planned, and the more football people we have, I'm really starting to see football type decisions and football type focus as opposed to that. So
Absolutely.
what do you think about the US tour?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, from an American perspective as well, again, they stayed mostly on the East Coast, so didn't get an opportunity to go. But, this scarf here, 2023, right, when they went to San Diego, right, like my wife and I, we made the trip and we went and saw them play. So for us, here in the States, it's nice to be able to go see them, even if it is preseason and it's not quite a full squad. Although, again, we did see most of the first team players playing a majority of the minutes. Our previous bald manager of this year played most of the second and third reserves for the game in San Diego that I
I remember
paid a
that.
bunch of money to go see. Not salty. But no, but kidding aside, right? Like it's an opportunity for us to see some of those players. I mean, I remember, goodness, I think it was back in 2017 when they came here to Phoenix, right? And they played a friendly against Club America, and they played then, right? And it was an opportunity for me to see my favorite team because, again, unlike all the folks there in England, even those maybe in other cities outside of Manchester, but in England, you could take a train still, and you can get to a match a lot easier than 15 hours worth of flights or whatever it is, right, from us. So it's cool for fans here in the U.S. to be able to go see United play. Um, Obviously, there's the financial aspect of it. It's no FIFA Club World Cup, but United getting at least 7.5 million pounds from the tournament itself, or from summer series, they call it, right? In revenue. Plus, there'll be like a little bit more in winnings, is what I've been told. So, hey, throw that in the bank account. Let's make sure we get that signed off onto some new players, right? Um, so again, at the end of the day, it's good for the club. And you touched on a little bit, getting this group of players away from the noise. We talk about how heavy the shirt is to wear,
Yep.
and new signings at United, and how it is coming to the club. And we talk about culture shift, or we're changing the way we do things under Amarim, and all these really fun things to say that are the right things to say that they're going to say because it has to happen. But all BS aside, we got this group of players out of the building, took them halfway across the world almost, and got them in a completely different element where it was just them. No noise, right? There were some United reporters that followed, but for the most part, it's not all of the day-to-day normal hullabaloo that they get. And they were a bit separated to just be that group of players.
Well,
And
you've heard
it's going to mean a lot more.
Mourinho and Van Gaal both in the last like couple of years talk about like they could never do football stuff because it was always about promotion and all the advertising and blah blah blah. So I I
Yeah.
I mean I'm sure we'll see some advertising stuff from this turn. I'm sure they filmed stuff or had to do things that they needed to, but I think exactly what you're saying. If you take what Mourinho and Van Gaal said and put it into this tournament, I think they'd both be jealous of the closed environment that it feels like the club gave Amarim to train and work with his players.
Yeah, I mean, and there were a few interviews here and there, right? Like Luke Shaw had his interview midweek talking about, oh, well, this is a new group, and Amarim won't let anything slide, and the
Yeah,
past
he's
ways.
serious. He's serious.
Well, he was the problem, and I
Not
think it was
Luke. I'm talking
one
about
of the problems.
Amarim is serious.
Oh
Luke's
yeah,
fine. He's doing
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. No, Luke was saying all the right things, and yeah, he may have been part of the problem at one point in time, but the whole attitude shift, mindset shift of, hey, anything less than 100% doesn't work for this manager, and talking about all these things that we as fans want to see when they're on the pitch. And so hearing those things come out in interviews was great. Obviously, Ruben Amorim's press conference, I believe, was yesterday, right, where he's talking about, oh, I could stay here for 20 years, and this was the right decision for me,
Yep,
and all
yep,
that good
yep.
stuff. Hearing all the right things. Heck, if he stays for 20 years, it means we've won 10 to 12 Premier League titles, so I'm all for it. Please and thank you. One of our listeners in England, can you all knight someone who's not from England? Does that happen? If he wins 10, what's his number of Premier League titles at United before he gets a foreign knighthood or something like that? But
I love
no,
it.
kidding aside,
Four.
yeah, yeah, you got him in a different element, and you got the players just to be able to build some of those bonds a little bit too. So I think that was a great part of it. Ultimately, I know we're hoping, and Nate, you're hoping, that this group that we saw in this preseason tour is not the final full squad that we go into the Premier League season with. Hopefully, there's a little something up their sleeve.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little
Future
bit.
card.
Let's start before we get into Sesko and Donnarumma, and a
That
midfielder.
one's something.
Yeah. Before we get into that, let's go from the opposite side. So one, Rashford obviously went out on loan. I watched. I've been able to see both of his Barcelona matches. He he
I did.
reminds me really quickly of the Rashford that we loved.
Yeah.
He if
Eh,
you were just talking about distractions and all this stuff, he doesn't have that out there, and he's not the biggest name out there either. So he literally has an opportunity to just ball out. He doesn't have to be the main guy, and for whatever reason, whatever happened at United and whatever's kind of caused all the things that have happened to literally lead him to now be at his second club that is not United. Like, it's wild thinking about this kid that grew up and came through all the ranks and balled out. Like, so I thought he's played really well. A couple of assists, like he's going to do well in Barcelona. There, that's not an issue because he doesn't have to.
good
He
for
doesn't
him.
have to play 90. He doesn't have to be the main guy. I mean, when you got Lamine Yamal on a team, that dude is dude is so good. But
United signing 2028.
yeah, oh, okay. You heard it here first, folks. 2028.
Broke it 3 years early. You're welcome.
And then Amarim, I mentioned it earlier in this episode, but Amarim talking about there are players that don't want to be at the club anymore. Sancho looks like they're trying to figure out some kind of move back to Dortmund. I know you mentioned it last
Dortmund have
episode,
re-entered the race. Yeah, and
which I think
Juve
is
was around
interesting.
it for a while.
I think that's
I don't
actually
know.
really interesting because, again, like Rashford, it's a club he doesn't have to be the main guy at. He can just go and do what he does, and like,
Yeah,
good for him. Hopefully, I
yeah.
mean, if guys don't want to be here, and I think this kind of thing will be easier in a few years once everything pre Sir Jim Radcliffe and Ineos, once everything pre has all those contracts have worked their way through
Worked
all
their
of
way
those
out.
deals and
Yep.
everything
Yep.
left at the club is the current group. I don't see a lot of this happening anymore. But
No, this is going to be
when
the
you
worst
offer
of it.
players 300,000, 280 a week that they're not going to earn at almost any other club on the planet unless they want to head over to Saudi. Like, that's just
Yep.
it's wild. So if we're starting a bit of transfer talk on the back end, seeing some of these
Yeah.
players leave and having Amarin actually say it out loud, like, these guys don't want to be here. Okay, good. Like, a manager needs to say it.
See ya.
Like, Ferguson would cut you. Dude would cut you, and I don't mean
Immediately.
like cut you from the squad. I mean like knife, open flesh wound, like cut you. If you
Just put the flesh wound.
Dude sold Beckham in his prime. He took
Yeah.
nothing from no one, and that is a stark reminder sometimes that dictators are pieces of shit and they shouldn't exist. But
Unless
but
you're running a football club.
if you're running a football club, you got to have somebody who's like, I don't care. You're not bigger than this club. You're not bigger than your teammates. You're like, we're all in this together. So I think we're always, is this manager, this next manager, our current manager, whatever, the next Ferguson? Or like you said, is he going to bring us back trophies and win a knighthood? Like, is this the guy to do it?
Sure.
And we've
Sure.
had a few opportunities in like, never mind. I'm not going to get into old managers. That is not this episode. All right. So, reversing onto the other side, I know we've
Here's,
talked about it, but three, what you got for me?
I was going to say about the outgoings because you brought a good point around, you know, certain players just kind of lingering, it seems like. And shout out to my friend Tommy Garner. He's not perfect because he's a Chelsea fan.
Oh gosh.
But we'll give him a little bit of attention here because there's an article and subsequent follow up from Chelsea where a lot of the stuff that they're reporting about Garnacho and his potential move to Chelsea is they are playing the waiting game and they're doing it on purpose. They know Garnacho wants to leave United. They have the price that United has set. They don't want to pay it, and they're going to just sit and hold and wait until the very end of the window if they have to see how low United will go on the price. Right? And again, post you know, previous era, we haven't seen a bunch of these bad contracts, but it we're going to be upset about it by the price tag that he eventually does in fact go for. We're not going to be happy. We're going to be angry. Some fans are going to be going, oh, this new ownership group doesn't know what the hell they're talking about because they got rid of him for so cheap. It's because of the situation we're in. They've got our cojones in a vice grip, ultimately, on a lot of the negotiation on these deals. But Sancho, Antony, Garnacho, those three in particular, there are clubs that want him. There are clubs that have their price that they think that we're going to come down to, and they're going to wait until the very end. And we're going to be playing chicken
Correct.
at the very end of the transfer window. And eventually, if it's Juve or maybe it's Dortmund or maybe it's Napoli is going to come in and say, hey, fine, I'll give you 30 for Sancho. Or, hey, I'll give you 25 for him. And we go, okay, sold.
Yeah. And I'm
Take
hoping
him.
we don't.
Right. And that's what's going to happen. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Amorim made that really precious remark last week about, oh, if they're United players after the window, I'll bring. No, they're going to be stuck with the reserves or the U21s or the U23s or somebody still. They're going to because
See, I disagree
look
with
what he
you
did
on
at
that.
Sporting.
Yeah.
If the club wants to back him the way that they say that they want to back him, you're gonna eat a bad deal a little bit if you have to get the other people out. You're going to if you're doing it the right way.
Yeah. True.
And does it suck for them a little bit? Absolutely. With Elanga going for 55, we've talked about. With Madueke went for what, 52. Garna should go for 50, 55. He should.
Oh, 100%.
Young, talent, potential, whatever. He should go for 50, at least 50. And we're going to get 25 for him. That's just the truth. And it's going to suck. It's going to sting. And then when he gets buried in the log jam of players at Chelsea and barely gets to play and we finish higher than them in the table this year, then we'll laugh and say, oh, well, and we'll be fine with it. Obviously, that last part's a little bit optimistic. But we're in the position we're in because of bad signings and bad transfers and bad wages. Getting out of them is going to suck a little.
You got to rip
as
the
we get out.
Band-Aid.
That's just
You're
that's
right.
just the truth. We're
You're
not
right.
going to get what we think for what we paid for some of these players because they were panic buys. And guess what? Now we're going to have to make panic sales if we want to get them out.
So hear me out on this. Here's how I think this is going to go. One, Garnacho's wages, which you and I were texting about in the week, he's on incredibly low wages compared to the other people that want to leave.
That's true.
50K a week from what I've read on his wages. You're looking at Sancho up near 300 and Antony in the high twos for wages. So here's how it's going to go. And come September 2nd, we can see if I was right or wrong. But my thought on it is...
Jot this down, friends.
My thought on this is, one, Garnacho, he'll leave. His fee should be higher, but based on his wages and what he's got left on his current contract, I get that one. So Chelsea wants to hold out. That's fine. I don't see us saying to any club, period, yes, you can have these players slightly cheaper because you've pushed us to the end. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that would have happened with the previous regime because of panic. So I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I do think Garnacho will leave for Chelsea. I think we're going to come to some kind of agreement with them. That'll be in the range that it should be. It should be a 50 to 55 million, but I think he's going to be in between 30 and 40. Antony, I have a small and slight niggling feeling that one is going to go down to the wire, and there's a decent chance he's going to stay and have to play this season with us, at least to winter. Are you typing this down? Is that what I'm hearing? Or are you doing other things? Yeah, so that's that. And then last one, Sancho. I don't see a way back for Sancho or Garnacho. Now, having said that, I could think of at least 10 players that I've known throughout the history of my following football where it felt like there was no chance they could come back to the team they were at, and they did. So there is a business aspect to this. You signed a contract. You wanted to leave. We couldn't facilitate it, and you're here. And so they'll join. And I know what you mean, Amorim saying, yeah, if they're here when the season starts, we're going to bring them back into the squad. That's 100% the truth. Now, will there be any players to have to fold back into the squad? That's a different story. but Garnacho's gone, Sancho's gone, and I think there's a small chance Anthony stays. So that's my 2 cents on my small prediction on those guys.
Fair enough.
All right,
Fair enough. No,
and
yeah.
then on the other
Anthony's
side,
wages are a little. Go ahead.
no, 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 yeah, his that's the thing I think too with Anthony.
105.
Okay, all right, so
Manageable, but not great. And I think that was part of the issue with Bettis was
agreed.
those wages.
And I think they definitely don't want to pay as much. It feels like Turkey has a lot of money. My wife and I went hiking 2 weekends ago, and up this crazy trail. And there's a guy that's really struggling. So I kind of paused a bit because I was a bit concerned. You're up pretty high here. And it turns out he's from Turkey. He's a Fenerbahce fan. And we just chatted football for like 2 hours while we hiked up the mountain. My wife
That's awesome.
took off with some lady she met as well. So, but he was talking a lot about how the football there has taken a turn because like a large influx of money, people trying to buy players, and you just saw it with Osimhen paying 75 or 80 million dollars for a player in their
Yeah.
prime. It doesn't happen as often. It feels a bit more for bigger names in Europe that they go there maybe towards the end of their career, or sometimes if they're unwilling to change their wages, there's clubs like that'll take over. So with some of these wages, it's tough. Garnacho's gone. Sancho, those two, I just don't see a way back. Especially Garna's been so public about his comments and wanting to leave and all this weird
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's unacceptable. But, anyways, let's talk about the
There you
opposite
go.
end real quick. Unless you got one more
Okay.
thing for this one.
Your predictions again. Anthony might stay. Everybody else goes. I'm going to say the only one that stays is Tyrell Malacia because nobody wants him, and so then now he's just stuck.
Okay, that's fair. We haven't even talked about Malasia, but yeah, I could see that one too. He had a great
I think we'll
season.
ship off the other three just for the heck of it. But
I mean, he won the league for where they went at the end of last season. I
yeah,
mean, his loan, so
I'd love
good
to
for
see him
him.
go out on loan back to the Netherlands again.
Yeah,
That'd be best case scenario. Hopefully, we get
yeah,
something done.
100%.
But
100%. All right, so the biggest news, obviously, in football right now, period, across the board, is Benjamin Sesko
hey,
apparently deciding between Newcastle United and Manchester United. Everyone reported their bid yesterday morning. Newcastle's bid to Leipzig, 75 million pounds plus 5 million pounds in add-ons, which was turned down due to the insufficiency of a sell-on clause. Which I'll get your thoughts on the sell-on clause for a young, sought-after player like that. Um, and then the reverse news, he prefers United, but United are refusing to make a bid or be official about anything until they hear from the player. If you want to join, we'll come in and buy you, but we're not just going to bid for you while you decide you might join another team. I like that so much better than Newcastle just saying, because Newcastle has gotten zero, zero. I mean, no news or confirmation from the player, his camp, that hey, you're the only club we want. Go ahead and bid. We'll let this play out. Nobody's reported
yeah,
anything like that. So United waiting to bid till the player chooses. Newcastle throwing in a bid that appears to match the valuation of the player, but missing the key component of a sell-on clause. So, what are your thoughts on this?
the sell-on clause is interesting. Very interesting. I think the biggest thing in this one for me is the appreciation of the gentleman's agreement between Leipzig and Sesko, because we just saw the issue with that other Swedish guy we don't talk about, and the president of the club there, and the issue that they have, and how that could have turned into a giant debacle. It ended up getting worked out. But we haven't heard a lot out of Leipzig on this one. And that for me is interesting. I mean, obviously, we did hear, hey, we'd love Hoyland back in the deal. And Hoyland has seemed to scratch that to where that's not going to happen now. So that's interesting. I wonder what our next move is regarding that, because ultimately we know that from a financial standpoint, we're not exactly dripping in money right now.
Well,
So
that's what
how
we
they
keep
get the
telling people.
deal done and how they structure it. Or maybe, yeah, or maybe that's just a lie that we're saying just to make other clubs think that we're not in the great spot, and then we just roll the checkbook out when we need to. I don't know. Maybe that's the case too. But at the end of the day, um, Sesko follows United on Instagram, so it basically means he's ours. No, I'm kidding. But
Listen, this is
it's
this
up to
is how
him,
we
and
find
he's got to
out.
make a decision.
I got a question for you though,
And
real quick, that I'd like to hear, because the sell-on clause and even what's being bid for him. So, do you know what he went to RB Leipzig for, the fee that was paid? I have it. I'm just wondering if
I
you happen
can
to
find
know.
that out for it. Go for
No,
it.
I
I have
know.
no idea. I'm going to say RB Leipzig does a really good job of buying cheap. So I'm going to say they paid 3.5 million euros for him.
Nice. He was already kind of a baller, so you're wrong. But he so 24 million is what 24 million
Okay.
euros is what Leipzig bought him
Oh,
from
wow.
Salzburg. So the reason I
Wow. Good
bring that
job,
up,
Benji.
exactly. So the reason I bring it up is the idea that he's now, the price being quoted for him now, like obviously the beginning of the summer with his Arsenal, like it was Sesko and Arsenal. Like there was no other news. 100 million plus. I mean, we read it all. Now for it to be like, hey, we actually only want X amount and we're doing this. So they're looking at trying to make a 50 million euro, or even maybe more, pound profit on his
Yeah.
sale right now. So I'm I find it intriguing that they would demand a sell-on clause. Now, you and I chatted about this a bit, but hit me with your thoughts on the sell-on clause between the two clubs here, United and
Well,
Newcastle,
I mean, you
because
look at Isak going to Newcastle, and now Isak wants to leave Newcastle. So I think specifically selling to Newcastle, I mean, with respect, there are bigger clubs than Newcastle. I think Newcastle fans would admit that you go to Newcastle and that's really cool and all, but you can graduate from Newcastle and go somewhere else. And I think maybe Leipzig have a little bit of that thought in their head, right? Of, okay, Isak went, he did great, and now he wants to leave to a bigger club. They want a piece of it. The other thought I've had in it too is maybe they declined and said it was because of the sell on clause simply to give Benji more time to think about it. See, I have a little nickname for him already because he's coming and we're friends. And he already texted me and told me, so it's cool. You heard it here first. Breaking news. Bryce Johnson says that Benjamin Sesko has been texting him that he's coming. He'll be on the pod next week to talk about it. No. But I think that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that everybody says that breaking rumor of it's crap. The dude's trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life, and he's going to take some time to figure it out. And I think the biggest part is if United really call him up and say, "Hey, man, we got the dollars, we've got everything, the bid's put together. You tell us you want us, we'll go get it done." I think we're still figuring that part out on our end. And once that is truly done and we call him up, then yeah, I think it'll get done. And it's so funny because, 2 weeks ago we were talking about Ollie Watkins, and that seems to be the better plan and
right.
Premier League proven and yada yada. And I think that's all still the case. But again, I've got the Newcastle bid pulled up. 75 million euros with a further five in potential add-ons. 65.5 million pounds is the equivalent of that.
Gotcha.
About as much as we paid for Mbomo. So do we have that money to fork over tomorrow? I don't think so. And
I
I
think we
think that's
do.
part of why they're dragging it out. I think if we did, it'd be done already. Honestly. I think if we did, it'd be done.
I agree, but
But
until
when
he
it doesn't,
says,
that's just,
I just I appreciate the club saying we will bid for you. They've told Leipzig we will bid for him. Like, we are in this. We just want him to make a decision. We're not bidding. This goes back to Amarim's statement back in
yeah.
April. We want players who want to be here. If you don't want to be here, we don't want you here. And so, yes, I think after watching the matches I've watched in the preseason, and from what you've told me about Everton's match today, having Sesko up front would be a big, big deal for the type of football you were talking about that we played today. I think that would be a great fit. So, United saying we're not going to bid for you until you tell us if it's us. Listen, you want to go to Newcastle? Great, we're out of here. Like you do what's
Walk
best for you,
away.
bro. Like it's no big
Yeah.
deal, and I respect that. Newcastle has obviously taken a whole different approach, saying we're going to bid, see if we can get something agreed. So then we're going to go to the player and say, like, wait for the player's
Yeah.
decision. I like the way United did it because again, you're saying we'd love you to come, but if you don't want to be here, we don't want you. Newcastle is out there, obviously. So
They're just
Isak,
in disarray with the Isak stuff, man.
well,
They're having
they bought
fights
him
internally
for.
about it.
I know they bought him for 60 million from Sociedad. So they're trying to more than double what they paid because Liverpool offered the 120 million for him, and Newcastle rejected it. That's wild. And we're talking about a player who has scored 21 and 23 Premier League goals in 2 seasons. We're not talking about a player that's been here for 6 or 7 years and consistently put out goals. Two
It's
really
not a
good
Harry
seasons.
Kane type situation or a Wayne Rooney
Exactly. Like
scoring tons and goals and goals
it's
and
not like an
goals.
18-year-old who everyone knows is going to be a star, and it's not somebody who's been around. So I find the money here fascinating. Even the money to pay for Sesko. I think the Cunha money's good and the Embueno money's good because these are proven Premier League players that have put up numbers in inferior is not the right term, but in other Premier League teams that don't carry the weight that a club like Manchester United does.
Yeah.
The same fee for a Sesko, I don't agree with, but the value of something or someone is always what somebody's willing to pay for it. So whether or
Yeah.
not like even when you're talking about the fees we would expect for Garnacho or whatever, in the end they're only worth what somebody's willing to pay for them. And then in that point, the seller still gets to choose whether or not to sell it because they also have their own valuation.
Yeah.
So
They could sign on the line or they could pass.
exactly. So if we're talking about this much for Sesko and we're still on the fence for a goalkeeper. I mean, I don't see now. Onana could totally Jesus Christ this thing and rise from the dead and become a totally different apparatus spirit than he was last season. I don't see it, but it's possible. We can't
His
start the season with
blunders were
buying
still
deer.
there.
Yeah, we can't start the season with buying deer. Onana's obviously going to be ready. We're 2 weeks from today. We're recording this on a Sunday. 2 weeks from today, by the time we're recording again, we will have played our first Premier League match and we'll have results from that Arsenal game. So 2 weeks is what we're talking about to get this show on the road. So if we're looking at a goalkeeper and a more structured defensive midfielder, then I think we've got more money than we're saying, and I like it. I think the club is happy with reports going out, even if they're leaking them themselves. We don't have a lot of money, FFP, we're not sure we can do what other clubs can do. And then suddenly you see these little articles over the last 2 or 3 weeks. I don't need to sell anyone. They're fine. They can buy who they want. They don't need to sell anyone. And that's where I see us not panic selling at the end of the window to try to recoup 20 million here, 15 million here, 30 million here if that's what I mean. But again,
Fair
Sesko,
enough.
a goalkeeper, a midfielder. How do you like give me some thoughts on this? What are you seeing?
All right. Again, I flipping a coin. The with the Sesko stuff. I'm no idea at this point, honestly. I think the big one for me that's interesting is the Donnarumma look. The rumors that came there. Obviously, we've been rumored with the Belgian goalkeeper Sam Lamont out there, 6, 7, 8, right in that range. I'd love to see it happen. I think Onana's mistakes were apparent prior to him coming to United.
Agreed.
I never understood paying the money we did to bring him in the first place. I would really like this to be over with. I have heard some encouraging news that says that he doesn't want to be a backup. So if we did buy somebody, he would let us sell him. So that was a positive for
Do
me
you think he'd go to
because,
Saudi
yeah,
so we could collect like 40 or 50 million?
I mean, I would be very okay with that. Yeah, especially because I think some of the initial numbers that I've read for Donnarumma are lower than I thought, right? I mean, we're talking maybe in the 25 to 30 million euro range that I've read for Donnarumma. So a 26-year-old Italian national team goalkeeper, He's only 26. That's what blew my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, he's like 31, 32. He's got 4 or 5 good years left. Like that's pretty good. No, he's 26. He's 26.
Yeah,
That's in goalkeeper land. That's 10 years of like
he's a baby.
balling out of control. So I'm very pleased with that potential option. I'd love it. It'd be great. We sell Onana. We move on. I'll take and be the number two until we find a better number two. Cool. I'm good with that. I could live there. Um, Obviously, we want a striker done. But if holding mid, striker, goalkeeper, those three, if we only can get one of them done, I want Donnarumma in and Nonana out. If I can only get one of the three, I
Okay,
want that.
I like it.
You can stick Xerxes up high. We could get by with Hoyland. We could get by with Mbomo or Cunha playing up high. I can live with that. I won't be happy, but I can live with it. And if I have to only get one of those three, I want a real goalkeeper in net. Because you talked about it 2 weeks ago on our show, the very first episode, around the fact that 8 mistakes leading to goal double the goalkeeper that had the second most in the league, right? How huge is you take 4 matches throughout the season and you just take 1 goal away from the opponent? And how many more points is that on the year,
It's a
right?
lot
If that's
because they were.
4 wins to 4 draws, that's 12 points, 4 points. That's 8 point difference.
Yep. Yeah, and some of
It's eight
those were
points.
winners.
And
Some of
depending
those
on when
were.
it happens,
No, you're right. Some of those were 1-0 wins. Some of those were late equalizers. Like we're talking about dropped. It wasn't like 6-0 and then he gave up a goal and it was 7-0. Like
right. Well, and then again, the momentum that it causes when you give up a goal in the 62nd minute, let's say, and you're up 1-0, you've been controlling the match, you give up a goal in the 67th minute or 62nd minute or sometime in the second half, whatever. Now it's 1-1 and the momentum is completely shifted and you end up losing the match 2-1. I mean, anybody that's played knows one howler of a goal going in changes the entire complexion of a match.
absolutely.
Is that a little bit unfair? Because if you're a striker and you miss a sitter, you're right. It is a little unfair because a striker missing an easy goal, they can also score one out of nowhere and they're fine, and then you love them again. The goalkeeper, you make one boneheaded, terrible mistake where you're backpedaling and you sit down in your own net. Not that that from 2 years ago is still haunting me or anything. It's got to have. I mean,
No,
it's
you're
got to
right.
get. It's got to be done. It's
Yeah,
got to be done. And it's 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 poetic justice that the last preseason match at Old Trafford is David De Gea's return
I can't wait.
to Manchester.
Yeah,
I hope he gets a standing ovation. All of our friends in Manchester that are going to be at that preseason match, for the love of all things footy, please give that man a standing ovation. And hey, maybe chant "No Nana" out. I don't care.
no, I
I'd
did read they
stop
were
again
doing.
for him tomorrow if they'd let us.
Absolutely. No, they're going to do. I was reading that. I mean, De Gea was sold. No one understood why at the time, and he never got a send off. So I know
It better be good.
he should still be here. I mean, he made his own mistakes. No keeper's perfect. Keepers make mistakes. Schmeichel made mistakes. Like great players still aren't perfect. It's just the idea that you know that outside of the mistakes is their quality. And I feel like 1 or 2 mistakes, yeah. 3 or 4, okay, your teammates are starting to be like, yes, this sucks. 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 mistakes that led directly to goals. Like that, you're right. Like what you said is exactly right. Like we're looking at something that's like, this is
It's a
not
difference
working.
of a season.
Ah,
It's a difference of a season.
you're not
And,
wrong.
and even when we weren't very good in front of him, fans would come of other teams would come to Old Trafford and look dead into a camera and say De Gea could save the effing Titanic. Like there's actual quotes
Yes.
of fans. And so again, I'm very salty on that. We don't need to get into that again. Reopen that old wound. So I'll just say that's what I'm hoping
I
happens.
like
We
it.
need that this window for me as well. The strikers thing, I don't even know anymore. I don't know. It'd be cool to have him. It'd be cool to have him. It's weird where what has or hasn't now been said about Ollie Watkins. I did hear a really cool report earlier in the week, though, that you have to kind of think that the relationship between Watkins and Unai Emery is not good. there is a fraction there between the two of them. They're not copacetic, the two of them, and so maybe part of this whole Sesko thing is us too saying, "Hey, Villa, you say you want 70 for him, but we know that ain't happening."
Yeah, it could
And
be.
then hey, at the deadline when those two ain't getting along, still, and it's well known at the club there,
Yep.
then it's hey, it's deadline day tomorrow. Here's 35.
You're talking about the same thing we were talking about, but reversing it, trying to get them
But
at
with
the last minute.
exactly, and that's where it goes into it's not a panic buy, it's strategic negotiation.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
business. It's just
United look at the first 5 games of the season, right? I mean, again, the first 3 happen within the window, still being open. There, we've got a pain in the ass of the first 5. So
absolutely.
if we take 6, 7, 8 points out of our first 5 games, that's not the end of the world. I hate to say it, but it's not.
Well,
So
we'll get
you
into
hang
our
tight,
we'll
not
get
worry
our
too
season
much.
preview. Once
I
we
don't
do
know.
our season preview, we can do that. But real quick, obviously we have Fiorentina next Saturday, last preseason match. Then 8 days later, we open the season home to Arsenal, away to Fulham, home to Burnley, away to City, home to Chelsea, and then
Chelsea.
sixth match away to Brentford. So we're talking about that's a start. Like that's I think that I'd have to look at it and we could talk about it, but I'm pretty sure that's one of our toughest starts for a bit. I mean, straight out of the gate,
Quite some
um,
time. According
Chelsea,
to the Premier League
City,
simulator, it's the
Arsenal.
toughest in the entire league.
Yeah, wild. So I think we'll know a lot about our squad. Um, come mid
I
September.
mean,
Like we're
absolutely.
we're gonna know a lot about the way the season's gonna look. Um, we'll get into our preview and we could talk about how many points we'll think we'll get over those first few matches and stuff. Um,
15.
another time. That's I'm telling you, it can happen,
Uh,
but one step at a time. So
yeah,
I like what you said.
I'm excited to do that this
I,
week.
I like what you said about between those three bringing in a keeper. I think that's the one that has to change because I know every player. I've been on a ton of teams in my life, just like you. We back everyone on the team. Like we're all fighting together. We obviously want to be a team. In the end, we all know the people on our own team that we don't quite trust all the way, and that even just a little bit of I'm not sure like can I pass to this person? I mean, if you want to get into it, even like Jordan, there was people Michael Jordan would not pass to. He knew that they weren't ready to handle the pressure of being there, and that's we can't have that. Like we need to know all 11 players and whoever's on the bench and the manager and the front office that everybody's pulling in the same direction. And in my opinion, I'm starting to see that from top to bottom. Now, I did read an article saying that Ineos were looking to purchase another percentage of the club to take their total to 64% and make them complete majority owners. They were talking about that. So, and you're talking about a one,
Lovely.
and it said 1.5 billion euros to buy that next chunk. So, from my view, I'm seeing everyone working together and slowly the Glazers fucking off to another place and leaving like
Went
2005.
a hole in Tampa and never
Oh,
returned.
and I know, anybody who's listening that's not in the States and doesn't know American football, again, like I said in our first podcast, if you want to know more about the Glazers, read about their history of owning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFL, and you'll see exactly what you've seen here. Um, and they're business people. I get it. They don't want to. They don't want to spend their own money. How can you buy one of the biggest clubs in the world without spending a dollar? You borrowed everything, then kept taking. Oh, don't get me going. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I'm going to lose it here in a second. All right,
We love your
so
passion.
the team
We
is
love it.
done. The team is done here in the U.S. They're headed back, and now we got Fiorentina on Saturday. I'm I'm gonna say Sesko will be at the club by the time we play Fiorentina on Saturday morning. I think
I like
tomorrow
it.
we'll get his news of what club he wants. I'm the only thing I could see is if suddenly United wanted to haggle over a few million. But I feel like
Yeah,
with the season 2 weeks away, if you're trying to spend 75 or 80 on a player, get him in. Get him in now.
it's
Like,
got to happen.
join him up to the
Yeah,
squad. So,
I love it.
all right, everyone. Thanks for joining in again. Again, like we always tell you, with shout outs, anything, like message us on all the platforms. You'll find us. Bryce is out there. If you're seeing comments, chuckling at comments, that's usually Bryce out there just trying to bring some spice to everything. And
Have to, have to.
and we're out there. So again, Desert Devils United podcast. My name's Nate. This is Bryce. The U.S. tour is over. The boys are headed back home. And Bryce, you want to close us out?
Yes, sir. Here's your spice. If the Sesko deal gets done this week, again, leading the line for Arsenal and leading the line for United, you have Gyökeres and Sesko. After the whole drama to Arsenal, get Sesko in here. He leads the line for United against Arsenal, scores the winner.
Ooh, that is good spice. I'll take it every
There's your
time.
storyline. There's your storyline spice right there. Deal's done by Wednesday. Yep,
Brilliant.
Nate called it. I'll put my stamp on it. Deal's done by Wednesday. Boom. Stamp done.
All right, reach out to us on the platforms. Tell us your thoughts on anything going on. We'd love to chat about it here on the podcast and give you a shout out and bring up what you thought, your ideas. We love to just talk United. That's why we're out here. So, again, everyone, stay safe. Have a great night. And let's fucking go, Manchester United. Laters.
Glory, glory.